Okay. You said you're making coffee now. Awesome. Okay. So we are streaming it in the Freedom Building Secrets group, it looks like. Yes, we are. Finally. It worked. It worked. Technology is loving me again. Okay, we're still waiting on him. I'm gonna get on Talmud, because he's my guy, but I'm gonna get on him. Oh, that's okay, Stephanie. You said you have a lot going on here. LOL. You're doing great, by the way. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the love and the support. Honestly, we need to encourage each other like that. So yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, Let me see if I can edit this caption and then they'll be able to see. Okay, edit. Oh, he came. Hello, Talmage. Welcome.
Hey, hey, how are you?
Good. Okay, so let me record. Okay, hold on. Let me just do
Oh,
my whole caption here. Join in on the fun. Okay. So I have Tamla here, we have Stephanie here, and then we have the people in the Facebook group. So I'm streaming there as well. And so I'll be monitoring like if anybody comments or has a question and stuff like that. So this is kind of like, well, first of all, introduce yourself. I love the background. Like, what's going on? I
thank you. I'm
love it.
here. I'm here. Brought the vibes with me. Thanks
Yes.
for having
What's
me.
going on with your background? Like, what was the inspiration there? You got the browns and the greens and
You know,
you
the
know what I
earth
mean?
tones. We got to get connected back to nature. Got a little
Yeah.
Bob over here. Got a little
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad over here. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the
Mm-hmm.
peace with the feminine with the masculine. Both
Okay.
female, black men.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's very
Yes.
representative of my spirit, who I am, and what I'd like to share with the world.
Yes. Wait, can I ask you, is the camera also right here or because we see your eyes looking at us from when you look up.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, cool beans.
Yeah, so I have a Sony ZV here, but I
Got
also
it.
have my laptop here. So if I'm
Okay.
looking at you and I'm seeing you, I'm looking down.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Respect. I love it.
Okay.
I love the room, the atmosphere. So why don't you introduce us and then I'll introduce myself and then I'll also tell everybody why I wanted you to come on, why we needed you, and yeah, go right on ahead.
Peace and peace and peace and love, everybody. Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me on. I'm Thomas Spicer. I go by Coach T Spice, and I'm on a mission to inspire and empower 1 million people to live a life by design instead of by default. And what I found is that the key to a designer lifestyle is a relationship with self. Right. So a
Yes.
lot of the ideas, a lot of the limiting beliefs that we have around what we can and what we can't do is the biggest thing that keeps us away from that designer lifestyle. And I'd like to explore that. I like to lean into that. I like to ask different questions to get different points of views around the challenges that we're facing in our life, in the hope that we can find the courage and the confidence to push past those limitations and find that we were capable the entire time.
I love that. Did you call it a designer lifestyle?
That's the one.
A designer lifestyle. Talk to me about that.
Ooh, so I look at it like going to a restaurant and being able to pick exactly what you want, and even being able to modify that burger that you're eating or the salad that you want to get,
Mm,
instead of just taking what life gives you. A lot of us assume that we're just supposed to persevere and just take what life gives us and roll with the punches, and it's always something. When I found that in my own life, you can be a little bit more intentional, you can be a little bit more
mm.
creative with the life that you live, and it's all based on the perspectives that you adopt.
Got
So
it.
I help people, yeah, get out of that default mindset into a creative, more designer mindset.
Yeah, it's kind of like, first of all, we're all unique, we're all in our own ways. And I think the cookie cutter putting everything in a certain way or strategy is what holds us back the most. So yeah, I love that. And then it also gives us the freedom to be autonomous, self-governing. Like it doesn't have to be someone else's way and all of that. And I think also because I'm a fellow mindset coach, and I think that we do some of the same things around, helping others find their financial freedom, things like that. But I think that when you see other mindset coaches, they are more focused on the strategy or the outcome, and they're not really focused on the journey and it being a cycle. Like we're not employees. There's no
Mhm.
finish line. There's no beginning, middle, and end. There's a whole cycle to whole, you know what I mean, to life. So that's an amazing thing. So listen, guys, I wanted to get on here and I wanted to talk about how money and being in a relationship correlates to the financial success that you reach and you experience in your life, right? And so Talmage is actually married. I'm divorced. So we have, a couple of experiences to share with you all. And I wanted to ask him, well, first I wanted to throw out a statistic. Okay. So married people make more than single people. And that's not because this isn't a statistic about both the couple, like, the husband and the wife, or the wife and the wife, or whatever it is. This is about the individual in the marriage makes more money than an individual outside of the marriage, outside of one, right? And why is that? So I looked into that, and some things that came up for me, Talmage, was that if, for instance, somebody loses their job, they're
Mhm.
not under the same amount of stress finding another job because they have somebody to hold them down, right? And they're not only just stressed, but they have the opportunity to look a little longer and get a little better. Because when you know this, when you're like, oh, I don't have enough and I'm, scraping by or trying to find, you go into irrational thinking and then like, you know what I mean? You might just land on something and okay, even if it's like a freaking, I don't know, a, a bomb, you're still going to click on it because it has some sort of, well, I need this now, that whole thing.
Right, right.
So, my question to you is, how has marriage helped you through your business and
Mm.
elevating and growing and things like that?
Well, I think that everything comes down to who you are and what you're consuming, right? It's not just the food you eat, but it's the conversations that you're having, the fulfillment that you feel in your life, and having a partner adds to that so tremendously that is has no choice but to manifest in your business. I think one of the first ways that come to mind is that there's so many moving variables as an entrepreneur that you'll experience that you have to juggle so many hats and so many different balls, right?
Yeah.
That having certain constants in your life, a stable living situation, a stable partner, day in and day out, even a stable routine where you're working out regularly or you're doing something that you love regularly,
Mm-hmm.
painting, whatever hobby that you may have,
Mm-hmm.
always adds to the creativity and the energy that you can put towards your business, because these are things that you're no longer thinking about, searching for, spending time and energy trying to fill different voids, constantly changing, having people in and out of your house, changing your location, your environment constantly. That just adds so much more stress and strain on what you need to be doing for your business. So having a solid partner that fulfills you, that motivates you, that celebrates you, does more for you as an individual, which in turn always manifests into your business.
Now, what would you say to those? That was amazing, and I get it. Like having a partner that you can find evolution as an experiment, as an adventure, growth. Like, you guys maybe, oh, babe, you reading that book? Okay, well, I'm reading this one, and then y'all could, you know what I mean? But what about when you have a partner that's kind of like a leech? You know what I
Yikes.
mean? Like it sucks you dry. You like, God, I can't get anywhere. What would you say to people that are single that maybe are doubting and saying, well, what if I get that kind of partner? Then what?
Oof, there's so much to unpack. If you initially, I thought you were going to go the way of if somebody is in that relationship. So I do want to touch on that real quick.
Okay, yeah, go right on
And,
ahead.
and if you are in that relationship, you said the question you asked was, what if you have a partner that is a leech? And my
Mm.
question, as a mindset coach, I'm always going to give you the answer in a question. I'm going to ask you, if your partner is a leech, then do you even really have a partner?
Ooh, talk
Is that
to
a partner?
that.
Can your partner be a leech and a partner simultaneously?
Right,
Right.
right.
And
Right.
it looks more like a liability than an asset, which makes them probably more of an adversary. But if you're
Mm,
worried about that, now this, I think what I'm going to say now is going to be an umbrella statement to people that are both worried about getting in a relationship like that and people that are in a relationship like that. Is to lean into it, right? Because you get the
mm,
chance to learn. I think that everybody that we meet and everybody that we connect with, especially on an intimate level, was sent to teach us something about ourselves,
yeah,
right?
very true.
So, and, the title of my book is "Have the Guts to Follow Your Guts," because playing it safe is the biggest risk of all, right?
Wow.
And
Where can we find your book? Did you send me your
oh,
links?
oh,
We
we're on
we'll do
Amazon.
that after.
It's in the chat. Don't even worry about it.
Okay, yes. Let me get that. Listen, I'm about to buy one. I didn't
But
know. Okay, and I'm gonna put that on the live stream too. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. We're listening. We're
but the
listening.
but the idea, right, is to trust your intuition, trust that you're doing your best in the present moment. And hey, if you got a lesson to learn, no matter how tough that lesson is, you're better
Hmm.
off running towards it than running away from it. Early on, they say fail fast, fail forward, right? Fail as
Mm,
often and as early as possible, because I think that if you wait later on into your life, failing has way more, you have way more on the line
yeah, yeah,
later on, that there
yep,
could be a kid involved. And God forbid, we're talking to somebody that does have a kid involved already, but that the longer you wait, the more you have at stake.
yeah.
I didn't mean to rhyme. Um, so
Okay.
it's better to run towards the challenges, run from the pain, learn those lessons as quickly and build yourself up as early as possible so that later on in life, you don't have to keep learning these 20-year-old, 25-year-old lessons.
Yeah. And I think also in my Facebook group, which if anything, y'all know where it is, and if you don't, I'm gonna put that in the chat in a second. But um this is a Facebook group where we have a couple of women that are between the ages of 40 and up, 40 and 40 and 55. And they're single, or they're, single by divorce, or single by just wanting to be single, or just never been married. And a lot of the times when I talk to them, um, their money traumas are around their relationships as well. And I remember being married myself, I was married young. I was married at 21. And that was the same year I gave birth. So I was a new mom, as well as in the old days, I was a Christian. So that's when I came to Christ. I'm not a Christian anymore, y'all, but it was a lot. It was a humongous shift in my entire life. And it was like go from being a kid to being an adult within a few months. You know what I'm saying? And that was crazy to me. But I also know I married somebody that was the kid version. So I'm like, oh, let's play house, let's play, you know what I mean? And it's like, Ashley, this was not supposed to be the guy that you wanted to be serious with. So, but what I found was investing in him, like he had a business he wanted to run, a couple, this one, this one, this one. And I was putting money out, putting money out, putting money out. And what I realized was I wanted a project. I did not want a person. Okay.
Mhm.
Single women, especially that are melanated, they want projects because they don't want to deal with this project. They don't want to invest in this project. And so that's kind of why I got on here too, to talk to you about this Talmage, because how could we encourage women to not just chase the bag and things like that, but also like go after love? Like, how can they be encouraged to do so after having so much trauma with money around it? Being a single mom, you got things, you know what I mean? You got things you got to take care of, but how could we help them in that way?
I, there's so many things to touch on with what
Oh,
you
go
just
on
said. I'm
ahead.
so excited. So first off, I want to say that I believe, and let me know how you guys receive this in the comments, but I believe that if you have a partner that you need to change, that needs to change in order for you to be happy, then you got the wrong partner. That if
Mm,
you need to change in order to have a happy relationship with that person, then you're in the wrong relationship. Right.
right.
That I believe that if you're going to change, if you're going to grow, intentionally grow, you should do it for self, by yourself. Right now, I'm not saying that you can't grow within a relationship, but ideally you shouldn't do it because somebody is pressuring you to do it, saying this is what you need to change, how you need to change it, when you need to change it,
Right.
then I'll be happy. Reason being is because that the goalpost tends to move. right? When you do start to
Mm.
work on it, you find yourself. I found myself, let me speak for myself. I find myself in this constant proving grounds, this constant, I'm doing it, doing it, doing it, and I getting the recognition because first impressions, I guess, are lasting impressions. They
Hmm.
always have this mindset, this perspective of you that this is who you are, this is how you're going to be. I want it to change. And even if you're working on it, they tend to look at the end result, right? And if you don't have it down perfect, you're reiterating through experiences
Yeah.
this identity that they have of you. Eventually it becomes concrete, right?
Mm.
So I always say that if you need to change, then you're in the wrong relationship. Maybe you just take a break, maybe you just take some space, come back to it, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But that's
Yep.
one thing that I've thought about.
I
i'm
get that.
losing I'm losing
No,
my
no,
train of thought. Bring
that's
me back.
okay. Let me bridge it. So I get that. And one of the people, one of our ladies in the Zoom here, she said that she's constantly had to prove herself and it's tedious. It is. It takes so much more out of you to try and please someone else's preference for you. And
Right.
not just that, but please your own unrealistic expectations because it's no one's job to love you first.
Mm,
It is no one's job, and you're not entitled to someone in loving you or anything. And I think we, as somebody like women that want to fix and help and all of that kind of stuff, we take on these projects and then we go, well, I deserve to be XYZ, but
mhm.
you don't deserve that. In fact, you probably deserve exactly what you're getting because you need to wake up, you know,
Right.
and smell that coffee because the end of the day, the best investment is in yourself. And it's not a cliche because who's the person you can rely on the most? This isn't for you to be a martyr and go, oh, I can't trust anybody. If people weren't supposed to be in your life to expand you, you would be the only human existing. But that also goes to say, you should be loving you the most out of everyone. And that includes your offspring. As single parents, we sometimes put our children first. We feel guilty, we overcompensate, and then we create that cycle of, let me not put me first. Let me show my child that it's not important to put her first or him first. And then let's get in relationships that we don't put each other first. And then let's have the money relationship where I don't put, you know what I mean? It's just a constant, everything is attached to this idea of worth and self worth. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I definitely understand that. So tell me about your little baby. I've seen your little girl. If anyone doesn't know, tell Mitch is a dad and he's also, running a business. He's a husband. So tell me about family life as a whole, because we're talking to single moms as well. And so now, you understand children now. They add
Mhm.
on to the, I would say, adventure. How do
Yeah,
you
let's go with adventure.
right? Especially when they're small. I get it. How do you balance running a business and having a child? Like, what is your everyday schedule? Like, can you give me a breakdown of like Monday through Friday? What do you do?
Well, so a lot of things have changed, and to bridge, and did bridge what I was going to say, now and then, uh, is that the project, right? If you're taking on a project, that relationship, it could be an intimate relationship. In this case, it could also be the relationship with your kids. That
Yeah.
project isn't external to you. That project, you are the project, right? I am the
Ah,
project, right?
yes.
So to answer your question, what is it like to be a father? Is like I always take it and say, okay, I'm being challenged in this way, I'm being pushed in this way. What does that mean about me as far as who I am and who I get to be upcoming?
Got
Right.
it.
And
Got
I've
it.
always thought, I've been super patient, I'm super, understanding and all of this stuff. And I've had
Yeah.
past relationships where my partner wasn't as patient. And I
Um,
learned back then to not put that on the other person, but instead to flip the question on myself and say, how can I be more patient, more
yeah.
understanding?
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter, yeah, yeah, she's, she found the button. She found it
Yeah.
almost immediately. But I'm doing really well.
Wow.
I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the opportunity to explore these different parts of me and to see when that frustration starts to bumble up and when that, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're ready to just give up, that helplessness
Mm,
feeling is, what do you want, baby? Why can't you just go to sleep? Like, it's so
yeah.
simple, so easy, and we'll all be better for it. And
Yeah.
just pushing through that and just being like, no, it's your chance to understand not only your baby, but yourself.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity. I've been able to do it, and I'm super proud of myself because I feel like I can. It's almost down to a science. I don't want to
Yeah.
myself and you got it, and then she throws the curveball. I don't want to jinx
Yeah.
it. But
I get that. I get
I
that.
feel like even though her lack of sentences and syllables and vocabulary,
Hmm.
that we have a level of communication where I just, you just kind of know. And maybe
Hmm.
sometimes you even guess a couple times, but she's pretty good. She's not, she hasn't driven me off the cliff, not yet.
I'm
We'll,
glad she
we'll
won't.
wait till she's 11, 13, something.
Right. The children that we produce and come into this world, they expand us. And I didn't know that as a single mom being so young. I was pregnant at 20 and gave birth at 21. And I was still, people don't tell you this part. How do you parent when you're still having to parent yourself, when you're still having to heal? How do you even parent with the person that hurt you so bad? How do you do this? How do you do that? And then the financial aspect here, it's like, how do you trust yourself again? Because I think a lot of trust with self has been gone, has kind of evaporated when you've allowed someone to hurt you for so long. You start asking your own self, like, all right, Ashley, all right, Talmadge, or whomever, where do we begin to start rebuilding? So, because of those fears, I think a lot of people don't want to get into a relationship that's committed and then build and evolve to marriage and things like that, especially if you've been burned as a single mom, because now you got the evidence in your face every day that you
Right.
don't have the family you want. But what would you say to those that are single, whether they're single because they're unmarried or they're divorced or whatever it is, um, in regards to being motivated to experience relationships again and dating again and incorporating how to build, how do you even build, this is the second question to that one, how would you also build your financial success with a person while dating, and then that evolution and so on and so forth? So that's a
But
twofold.
I'm gonna hold on to the second question.
Okay,
I
okay,
don't want
yep,
to lose it. But the
okay, I'll
first
write it
question, right?
down.
What I find is that motivation is gonna come from one or two sources, right?
Okay.
You can either be motivated because you're inspired to change something, you're
Hmm.
excited about it, or you could be motivated by the pain of not changing. And when the pain of not changing is greater than the pain
Mm.
of staying the same, then the pain of changing is greater than the pain of staying the same. Is that's the situation, then you'll be motivated to move. Most of us wait for the pain, wait till we
Ah,
have to do something. Most of us are reactive. A small
yeah,
set of us are proactive
yeah,
and would rather just go ahead and create from a good space, from a healthy space,
right.
instead of a more of a desperate space, like something's gotta give,
Yeah,
right?
right,
but
right.
but I think having the understanding of the two uh gives you the power to make a choice, make a
Yeah,
decision. You can either find some time to sit in silence, be with yourself, journal, find out what that designer lifestyle looks like for you, what
yeah.
that ideal situation, that ideal experience looks like for you, and then reverse engineer it back to where you are, and come up
Ah,
with a strategy and a plan, kind of like what we were talking about in the
yes,
DM.
yes.
Come up with that strategy and a plan to get there, and then
Hmm.
commit to it.
Yeah,
But you can wait till the pain comes. And I also want to highlight something that I said, because even when you
yeah,
do make that strategy and that plan, what I find is that a lot of people start from where they are,
yeah,
right? They start from where they are and they're like, yo, I just want to get a little bit better than where I am right now, right? Just a
yeah.
little bit better. And there's no real end result goal, right? And
Ah,
like you said, that the process is the process, right? There is
right.
no real end to the process.
Hmm.
But when you want to hit certain plateaus and
Yes,
milestones and create certain things in your life, it's good to have an idea of what that
yes,
looks like, obviously,
yes,
right?
yes.
So I'm making X amount of dollars. I just want to make X amount of dollars, right? Just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Really, I want $100,000 a week, right? But I
Mm,
didn't start
right.
with the end in mind. And it may take forever for you to eventually get there. But I think to start with the end in mind and reverse engineer it back to where you are
Yeah.
is a more effective way to have a clear, precise vision on how to get there.
Yeah. And I think also we settle because of the pain or whatever it is. And I call it this. We have good, we have better, and then we have best,
Mhm,
right? People don't want to get to the best, they don't believe in the best, right? But
mhm,
they're saying, "No, oh, I just want to manage my bills."
mhm.
Okay, after you manage them, then what? You know what I'm saying? It's like you might as well dream big because it's a dream. It won't hurt you. You
Right.
know what I mean? It doesn't hurt anybody to dream big. But gotcha. So you would set a goal. So you're saying to them, set a goal or set an objective and have like a realistic number or whatever it may be, or a
Mhm,
relationship or whatever goal.
right,
And then backtrack and say, okay, this is where I am. These are the steps that I'd have to take. So if you want to
right.
be married within a year, there's proposals, there's the dating, there's the, you know what I mean? Okay. So I think the second question was,
Can I
how,
hold up
oh,
before we do the
yes,
second?
yes, yes,
Can I
yes.
jump in one time for
Go
the last
ahead. We
one?
got some
Because
time.
it's really important. It's really
Yes,
important. I
yes.
promise. Because
Mhm.
what you have to do is one thing, right? But who you get to be, that's the
Mm,
juice.
mm.
That's the flavors. Who
Yeah.
do I have to be? And it's especially important, not only for
There.
manifesting money, but for a
Yep.
relationship. It's
Yep.
extremely important to focus on who I'm being, who I get to be, and who this ideal partner wants in their life,
Mm.
right?
Very
Because
true.
that's where all your control is. You can't control who, where somebody is at a certain point in their life, but it's a matter of being prepared when they do show up, right?
Yes.
And doing
Yes.
the work on yourself. Again, it goes back to you are the project. So if you can't find a way to evolve your identity in the process,
Mm.
then you're missing a very key part of it. And that's with relationships, parenting, money making, career, the whole nine. So I had to just highlight
Yeah,
that. Right.
identity is a big because I actually have a model called be, do, have, which is
Mhm.
who, what, and why. So the be, do, have model is flipping from the have, do, be model, which is people will normally say, I have to do this, I have to have this in order to do this, in order to be happy or be whatever. And so being first is key to even the quantum mechanics world and the energy and the whole thing there and the neuroscience, because identity in the being is the vibration and you're able to attract now those frequencies of people, money, opportunities, things of that nature. So that's absolutely, you're hitting it on the nail right there. Hmm.
Facts.
Yeah.
Big facts. What
Well,
was that
yeah.
second question?
So that second question was, how do we encourage others to date and evolve with the person? Because I think we're in such a dating world, but very casual dating, like drop, date drop. Like, I don't want you, now I want this. And women have the keys to the kingdom, but they don't know they do. Because I think it was some sort of statistic somewhere that said 100% of women date 20% of men. So there's like an 80 percentile of men that are left there that aren't getting any cootie cat. They aren't dating. They're not, you know what I'm saying? But
Or babies.
a lot of women will be like, oh, the dating pool is like not, that whatever it is. But they're actually not looking outside of this, 20%. And how do we, encourage them to date and then evolve with their partner financially? How do you even build with someone in that regard?
Well, I want to take my time with this because I'm
Please, yes.
experiencing a lot, and a lot of the things that I'm experiencing from the current dating pool in Black America
Mhm.
isn't things that I've personally experienced. Like that 80% of people that
Yes.
don't get no cootie cat, right? Can't
Right.
relate.
That
I'm
wasn't really
sorry,
a thing,
I
right?
can't relate. Um, but then I see their podcast episodes and they're just so like anti-women, and it breaks my
Mm,
heart. It infuriates me actually.
yeah.
And I think that as men, it is our job to protect, provide, and all these other men have, switched it around and perverted it to this whole Black women accountable thing. And I'm not saying that Black women shouldn't be held accountable, but the way that they do it is as if they were talking to another man. And it's like, hey, if you want a man, then just go get
Uh,
one. And then they complain
mm,
about how women are too masculine and they too,
that's some good
self-sufficient.
points.
But you look at them as you treat them as men and then
As men.
complain when
Right.
they're masculine. So
Right.
I guess to kind of touch onto your question, I think that there's a huge responsibility on the male population to be the 20%. Why is 80% of black men or men in
Mm,
general maybe undesirable to women?
mm,
Um, I don't, because there's a lot of women from what I see, they are getting the short end of the stick, and maybe that is why, and that's from the 20%, right?
yeah.
That's from the
Yeah, I
20.
mean,
So if
I
they
even
could,
know, I'm sorry, I was gonna say I know somebody that is in the world of like the 20%, let's just say, and he understands how men will optimize on a woman's trauma, how they'll take everything they can and suck her dry. But then there's also the other side of a woman gives it. You know what I mean? She's like, all right, here you go, just so that you can stay around or give me some dick or give me some money. You know what I mean? Excuse my language. Um,
yo, show.
you know what I'm saying? It's on Facebook, so I don't know if they would report that.
Zuck is listening to you
But
now.
yes. Also, Tamala said, she said because so many are looking for the bag instead of getting their own and then combining with pure intentions.
Mhm.
Okay, this is an entire conversation on its own. Yeah, the feminine has forgotten the femina, I'm not sure if she's meant that, has forgotten how to be feminine, and that masculinity is keeping them in balance. That's another thing too, like that feminine and masculine thing that's out there too. I think people just want to throw words and go, well, you have to fit in this, and this is what feminine is. I'm sorry, but I'm a leader. As far as I'm concerned, my man and me, we partners. There is no,
Mhm.
oh, he's going to be telling me no. As much as I influence him, he influences me. And I'm talking about my current partner. I am not
Right,
talking about anyone else, but yeah, that's another note. But I think you was hitting on something and I just kind of paused.
right.
Pause your thoughts.
Hey, it is what it is. This
We
live,
just
right?
going. We just
This
yeah.
live, yeah. Live and direct. It's the energy.
Yes, yes.
I don't remember what I was saying.
Okay. We were just talking about how to evolve with someone in this day and
Mhm.
age, how to partner financially with somebody. And do you do that in a stage of the relationship where y'all are exclusive? Do you test it out while dating? How do you test it? Things like that.
Again, I think you're the project, right? You're the only thing that you could control. So
Mm,
introspection is at the top of my list of
mm.
priority,
Values,
right?
right,
If
right.
I'm feeling something, I'm going to ask myself questions. I'm not going to look for the external cause of my feelings
Mm,
because I know that even if I do identify the triggers, which is important, it's still only 10% of the problem. 90% of it is internal, right? It's
mm,
this feeling, this perception is attached to something, a belief that I have, maybe subconsciously, that needs some attention, needs to be unlocked, needs to be felt through, needs to be
right.
communicated, something of the sort. And I think that you give away your power when you blame somebody else for how you feel or your experience, right? Because
Right.
you have the power to shift it, to look at it a little differently, to feel it out if you must, right? To
Hmm.
release that energy. And
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem that we have with evolving, only not only as individuals but as couples, is that we don't have that level of introspection to know that a lot of these things are very temporary.
Yeah.
First off, a lot
Hmm.
of these things are just trying to get our attention, to grow to expand our mindset, to expand our awareness and our knowledge and experience of certain things.
Hmm.
And it's not the death sentence that we tend to think it is. We tend to overthink these things because they're a little uncomfortable, or they're a lot of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Either way, it's always sent to grow you, is my belief, is my approach to these things. And I think that the beautiful thing that happens is when you find two people with that type of
Mm.
mindset that aren't
Yeah.
afraid of the tough conversations, that can
Right.
have patience and compassion for another human being with a complete separate cocktail of mindset, of
Yep.
beliefs and
Experiences. Yep.
attitudes, yeah,
Yep.
experiences, spirituality, all the different things, and just to have an open forum, an open space to where you can just be yourself and express whatever it is that comes to mind and comes to your heart. But also there's an art to it. I
Okay.
do want to say that too, because you'll get on a podcast and you'll hear these guys talk about, oh, they want us to communicate. Women want us to communicate, but when we do, now we zesty, now we this and now we that,
Yeah.
which I do think is wrong. You shouldn't belittle anybody for their feelings, man or woman or whatever.
Absolutely.
But the point that I think that they're missing is that there is a way to communicate your feelings, right? You can't just come out and say, "Oh, you did this, and now I'm this, and da, 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 da," and
Yeah.
you. I strongly believe in I feel statements.
Ah.
I feel blank when this happened. This made me feel this type of way, and just taking ownership of the feeling and
Yeah.
addressing, you can address and connect it to an external experience that you had. But at the end of the day, I'm not making you responsible for the feeling. All I'm doing is letting you know what I'm experiencing. And as my
Yeah.
partner, I think that it's reasonable to expect that you'd have some type of compassion or consideration for what
Hmm.
I'm feeling. And hey, if you don't, it's all good. I'll
It's
find
all
somebody
good.
that does. I'll find
Yes.
somebody
And
that does.
yes, we trying to
You know what I'm saying?
convince people like, can you please care? Like, what
Right.
you mean?
Please
Like,
care. Yeah. No, nobody's gonna care like you care, first of all. Nobody.
right.
Your
Right.
mother not gonna care like you
Right.
care.
Nobody.
But I think you can reasonably expect some compassion, some
Yeah.
consideration,
Yeah.
at least somebody that's going to listen to you and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I didn't know that you were feeling like that. That wasn't my intention.
Right.
My bad." Whatever. Small things. It's not asking
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
But we go on the offensive, we go on attack mode because we feel attacked.
Yeah.
And that's due to a lack of introspection. That's due to this mindset that this is the end all be all. This is disrespect, period.
Right.
You disrespected me, period.
Right.
There's no
Right.
conversation that be had about it,
Yeah, there's
and that's
no
too
kind of
rigid.
expansion. Yeah. Black and white thinking is not really
Right.
balanced. So it's like, yeah, it's extreme. I would say too, what the expectation of this now culture that men are supposed to pay for everything, right? And that, men are like the money, like the bank, basically. And like we just go there and we kind of sign a withdrawal check, a thing, and whatever. And then we're like, okay, now can I get the money? I've heard things like, I want my man that I'm dating, not married to, dating, to pay for my rent, to pay for my nails, to pay for my car payments. And I'm like, when did it become his responsibility? Because if he wasn't around, wouldn't you be taking care of that? So I've kind of been like, looking at that, social media and talking to people and things like that, various things. And I want to ask you what your opinion is about that. Like, do you think the man should be paying for most of the dates while they're going out? What's the man's financial responsibility in the evolution of that relationship?
So first off, I don't believe on shitting on anybody.
Okay.
So I don't shit all over yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but here's the thing, like I've in the past couple of years have learned to prioritize inspiration. So I'm not gonna say that there's one way it should be for everybody. There's no objective rule book that works for
Yeah.
every single person. There are different peoples in different walks of life, that some things are acceptable here, maybe at the upper echelon of society,
Right.
that aren't as acceptable, aren't as feasible, aren't as what's the word?
Able, capable,
No,
maybe.
it's
Oh,
when something works.
okay. Operational,
I
I
mean,
guess.
operational. No, like you get a gift, but it's something that you can use. So
Mhm.
it is. It's all good.
Is it like an investment? Like, an investment? No, it's
No,
something.
it's on the tip of my tongue. I hate when that
Okay,
happens, but
that's
it is
okay. She said
functional.
Tamla
That's the word.
functional.
Yeah,
Yes,
functional.
yes.
Yes. Oh Lord, that was going to
Magic.
my brain was melting out my ears. So it's not, yeah, it's not as
Yep,
functional
yep.
in certain
Hmm.
situations. So I'm not a fan of, putting all these rules on different people in their different relationships. It's all a matter of what those two people agree to. I think that ideally, though, if you can, why not? If you
Hmm.
can, provide, if you can live a comfortable life and you can have that designer lifestyle, and that's a part of what you consider to be ideal,
Hmm.
why not? Why not
Yeah.
work towards it?
Hmm.
And that is, I think, why a lot of men get triggered when you say you're supposed to. I don't think you're supposed to, but they are afraid or resistant to the idea that you can, that it's
Hmm.
possible, right? And that it
Yeah.
requires you raising the bar. Nobody wants somebody else telling them that you need to do better, you need to be better, and you
Right.
need to, especially if it's for their own benefit, you need to be better for me, right? So it's the
Uh,
art of communication again. It's
right.
about inspiring a man to want to do the things that he's capable of doing because it's best for him,
Not
right?
for you first. I love
Right,
that. I
exactly.
love
Right.
that. Yeah.
You're gonna be happier. You're gonna feel more in control, more
Right.
powerful, more free, more, all of these things
Right.
if you commit to this idea that you are abundant, that you
Right.
can access the amounts of money and finances and wealth that is needed to be able to take care of your wife, your family, all
Hmm.
of the everything.
Right.
I think, in my personal opinion, it's a it's a great ideal to have. It's a great vision to have. If it's possible, why not?
Yeah.
But
Why
then
not?
there's all these broke dudes talking about gold diggers. Like what? Because we missed the mark on communication.
I remember last year I was dating very differently. I was dating many different men because I was not finding the secret sauce, if that makes sense. And I was learning that I was the key. And one of the guys that I dated, I was with for 6 months. He didn't have a job for like 5 of those months. Okay.
Mhm.
He was really depressed though. And he was in his 30s. No, he just turned 30. And what I realized is broke men don't really have the same energy or oomph to be able to put into a relationship because what I found with men and they're not getting that part at least somewhat together, their spirit is broken,
Mhm.
because their actual nature is to provide and to make sure that they take care just like women, but it's in a different way. And it's
Mhm.
the infrastructure. It's being able to maintain the shelter or build whatever or feed you, those types of things and the basic human necessities, if that makes sense. I think all men in their spirit want to make sure that that's right. And if it's not, it's kind of, yeah. So I would encourage those that are watching, if you're dating and you are looking for a man with purpose and he has, stuff going for himself and you want that kind of thing, you want to look out for the men that make excuses for why they don't get up in the morning to do what they need to do, or just look out for the any conditioning, whether that's this happened to me and so I can't, right? We're mindset coaches, me and Talmage. So we understand that all things are possible. And we also understand that everybody's responsible for their own selves. So I just encourage you not to take responsibility for anyone else. I really do, because that's a boundary that needs to be drawn in the sand with women. As far as me coming from my side, we don't draw that boundary. We want to take care of them like we're their mothers, and then we end up being someone else's mothers alone
Right.
you know
Yeah.
so
No,
with
no, no,
that,
facts.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to send you the recording, any and everything. You know me, I'm a good, administrative assistant follow up. So I'm gonna follow up
Perfect.
on that. And yeah, you can post this anywhere. Tamla, Stephanie, feel free to come on, tell us what you got. Ladies, do you have any questions for me and Talmage? Ask away.
Oh,
Anyone? They've been saying some stuff in the
yeah.
chat. They
I'll
definitely,
say something. I'll say
yes.
something.
Hi.
I'm so sorry about my background. I
It's
think someone
okay.
is working on a house or something, but I just want to say that I am really, really enjoying the Zoom, all of the different perspectives. I'm trying not to like leak too much information out from my end.
Oh.
Um, because I don't want to say too much, but I definitely felt um when you guys brought up men not having any money and how they act a certain type of way. And I want to verify this. It's so different. There's so much anger, and
Mhm,
then that man, when he lacks money, he might look over at his woman, and if she's not like
mhm,
adding to the finances or anything, like maybe she's not working or whatnot, and she's just she's cool, like she knows she's broke, but like she still feels like at some point she's going to get what she needs. She's working towards something, and
yeah.
so she's cool, she's calm, and she's collected. But he'll look at her and he's like, "Why aren't you stressed out like I am?" And she's like, "Well, I know I know we'll find a way somehow." But it's not clicking in for him because he's just so stressed out, and so he's angry at her. And then she's like, well, it won't help for the both of us to be stressed out and
Mm-hmm.
it's not clicking for him, and it's just like an endless cycle. And I'm like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely get that because the person that I was dating actually that was broke for a while, he uh he actually he punched the wall and called his mother a stupid bitch. And I was like, and I was with him for 6 months. So out of that, well, 5.5, I would say we were at the 6 month mark, and he had did that, and he was just a big ball of anger, and he would suppress and suppress. And I think men are not given the forums the same way to express their emotions, and that's another thing as well. It's like, how do you not look like quote unquote a bitch as a man when you feel? I mean, you know what I mean? That's what it boils down to.
Can I say
And
something?
yes, go right on ahead.
There are some men um who are given the platform to, talk about their emotions. Like maybe their woman has told them often, hey, you can talk to me, we can have conversations about this. But he's just used to not saying anything. It's just a way of life for him. And he's
Yeah.
just, because he's such like a ball of like stress and trauma,
Hmm.
he doesn't want to open up, even though there's a woman right there who is willing to accept him as he is. Like she's, whatever he's been through in the past, she's like, okay, well, let's make this a blank slate. And she wakes up every day, and she's like, let's just try again. But because it it's like that passage in the Bible or something. I can't even think of it, but something about a seared conscience or something. It's like because it's like trauma has seared him,
Mm.
and he doesn't want to heal from it. So it's just, even though he has a platform, it's not resonating for him or something. So
Right.
there are plenty of men who have the ability to talk to someone. It's just they don't want to open themselves up to it. And I think that's the problem. They just don't want to open themselves up to it. So that's it. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Stephanie. Talmud, do you have any comments?
Yeah, she's bringing something up in me, and my experience is limited because I've never had a relationship with a man. But I I am grateful that I've always felt allowed to feel, right? Always
Mm,
been allowed to feel. And what's coming up for me is this idea that we kind of I get the vibe and the feeling that we're approaching this situation like the lack of money is the cause of the frustration,
right,
when the frustration might be the cause of the lack of money, right? That the
right.
frustration has existed since childhood, and the challenge or the inability to overcome the frustration and build that relationship with oneself, to build the confidence, like you said, Stephanie, to know that things will fall into place, right? To
Mhm.
have the track record of being broke, because broke is a
It
temporary
is.
state, but being
Mhm.
broken, right, can
Mm,
prolong the lack of finances,
yeah.
right? So I think that it might be, maybe, I don't know, a little bit deeper than just not having any money. And I think that there's a cultural aspect to it. It extends beyond just the Black community. Um, but yeah, it is uh, very well known that men aren't, allowed to feel. You're told to man up, and that I think gets in the way of that top priority, which is
Mhm.
introspection. And
Yeah.
introspection
I
leads to
agree.
self-confidence. Self-confidence leads to financial abundance.
Yeah. And I would
I
say
agree.
this too, Tamla's, I also see your hand raised, and I'll definitely click on you. Um, I realized that I wasn't safe for men to come to me because as somebody that grew up societally beautiful in
Mhm.
their standard of it, I was very vain and I was very cold. And not that I was cold in an outward way, I was cold in I'm going to make you feel inferior when I get the chance. So if you come over here and try to share your stuff, I'm going to act like I care. But because I'm only with you per conditions, I don't really care about you. And men know that energy. They
Mhm.
really do. Women know that energy as well, but men, I would say the men at least I know and met and, had shared, time and space with, they got that. They know off rip if a woman is really for them or not. They just do. They know what they can do, what they can get away with, what they can't. They know because why? Men had to grow up studying the way women work. They had to find out how to get her, how to attract her, how to please her. Women didn't have to do that. Women, we just hi, you know what I mean? We just stand around a group or whatever. We would do whatever we do. Maybe we on a track field, whatever. We didn't have to do the same kind of like, going out and being the first person to speak and all that good stuff. So I think also that is another reason why men don't feel comfortable, because if we're honest, a lot of the energy that women do carry around is like the whole, I'm better than you, or why aren't you good enough, and all of those things in conversations and arguments, he remembers. So you think he's just going to sit down and want to open up to you after you just said that he isn't, that he you ain't shit, or maybe not that extreme, or you've told him, oh, per condition, why can't you just da da da, you know what I mean? So I would say, yeah. Tamla, did you want to go into saying something? I know you were raising your hand.
I just wanted to say that, so like I was raised in a family where the majority of the people in my family were men.
Mm,
And I mean, not that there was a lack of females, but I had a lot of uncles and I
yeah.
had a lot of male cousins. And so like I saw things growing up as a child that as an adult I could clearly see was a reflection of enslavement and colonization.
Mm,
So from generation to generation, these ideologies were just being passed on and passed down. And so a lot of men, at least from my personal experience, and even not even just like within my own family, but in the neighborhood that I grew up in a neighborhood that before gentrification was primarily African American.
okay.
And we didn't
Hmm.
see very many white people in our neighborhood. We didn't see them until we went to school.
Mhm.
But I grew
Hmm.
up in a situation where men were forced always to have to be these big shouldered, carry the weight of the world and carry the weight of the family and all of the
Hmm.
society and the community that they live in. And then you had a situation where now we have to break up the Black family. So different things started happening that started changing the outlook of how we as people really looked at family.
Yeah.
And what I would see is that these Black men slowly but surely began to feel undervalued
Yeah.
and feel like we didn't need them.
Hmm.
Um, and it was given to them in a way that they didn't have any control over. So I saw a lot of frustration be bred out of that.
Yeah.
Um, and even like, because I'm 55 and I've got adult children, and even just like with my son-in-law, um, and dealing with, I mean, like she's my daughter and I love her, but
Hmm.
I see, he was raised, he had his five boys his mom and dad had. And so each one of their sons got a, depending on when they were born and how the society was at the time, got a different upbringing. So
Yeah.
you have five boys and they're all different.
Hmm.
And he is actually the second to the youngest, but certain types of responsibility was being put on him because
Yeah.
of how he thought. And
Mm.
so now as an adult, he's carried all of that trauma
Yeah.
into his adulthood. And it's like, and I try to explain to my daughter because I see it, because I've seen it so much. Um, there's you have to be able to be in a better position to
Yeah.
be empathetic towards your husband
Yeah.
and the things that he is feeling and what he's going through. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like I shouldn't be the person that he's having these heartfelt, deeply frustrated and traumatized conversations with.
Conversations, right.
That it's supposed to be you,
Right.
you
And
know?
you know what, Tamla, that also brings me round to, and I'll end here. Um, there was this picture that I saw where the man was like over a cliff and he was like reaching out, holding his woman, right? And a rock was on him, but the woman couldn't see it, crushing him. and a snake was about to eat her and he couldn't see it. And they're both like, why aren't you trying harder? And that concept is like, we are all carrying our burdens. And so what Talmage is saying is going back to going into yourself, introspective. And that means speculating, going inside of you, swimming inside and seeing where you can change. Because that's the only reason why I have healthy relationships. Nothing else. If I stop loving me, I bet you $100 million, more than that other people are going to change around me as well. And I'm going to
Right.
stop experiencing that love back. So in the same capacity. So with all that being said, thank you so much again, everyone, for showing up, for commenting. Yes, thank you, Talmage, Steph, Tamla. I called you Steph. I was like, I don't know if the nicknames, but I guess that was the energy.
That's fine.
besties
Steph is
now.
fine. I have fun.
Okay. Yes. Well, it was a day, it was a show, and I will, follow up with all you guys. Stephanie, I don't know if you have me on, any kind of social media network. So I'm going to follow up with you. You said you see me on Facebook, right?
Yeah, I'm actually on your I'm on your page.
Okay,
Not
perfect.
your personal page, but your Facebook.
My Facebook group. Okay, got it. So I'll inbox you. Talmage also put all his info in the chat. He has his Facebook there, his Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. All right, now with the 4 socials going on. I only got Facebook up and running. So I love that for you. All right, y'all. You have an amazing day, and thank y'all again.
Thank you so much.
All righty. See y'all later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.